Well, there have been more protests, and the announcement of the governor of Abia State, Theodore Oji, as the winner of the state central senatorial election was greeted by a series of protests in Umuahia, the state capital. The protesting party, the All Progressives Grand Alliance, has accused the Independent National Electoral Commission of rigging the results of the National Assembly elections in favor of the People's Democratic Party. The party says it will not accept any results contrary to what was announced by the presiding officers at the polling units.
This is the aftermath of the National Assembly elections in Abia Central Senatorial District. Supporters of the All Progressive Grand Alliance APGA protesting over the delay by INEC to announce results. They say it's a deliberate attempt to manipulate figures in favor of the PDP. They are not the only ones on the street. The supporters of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, are also on the other side to counter the protest. The protest is not without the presence of security personnel. Earlier, the APGA senatorial and House of Representatives candidates in the zone had led a protest to the Collation Center in Umuahia North Local Government Secretariat.
It is very clear in the field that I won this election clearly for APGA. So I don't see how something else has been happening here.
But their fear was eventually confirmed when INEC declared the PDP candidate, Governor Theodore Oji, as winner of the state central senatorial election.
Theodore Oji, of PDP, having certified the requirement of the law and having scored the highest vote, is hereby declared the winner and returned elected. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
But the governorship candidate of APGA, Dr. Alex Oti, and other leaders of the party are not pleased with the conduct of elections in the zone, citing several malpractices by INEC and the PDP.
A lot of INEC offices in the local governments are housed in the local government headquarters. Most of these transition council chairmen had security forces, whether they were real or fake, but most of them used them to intimidate our agents, stop them from gaining access into the collation centers, and muscled INEC officials into changing the results that they were supposed to be collating.
At the time of this report, no INEC official was available to defend these allegations. The aggrieved party says it has petitioned the electoral umpire and would not rest until the results are properly investigated.
And earlier on today, the APC governorship candidate in Akwa Ibom State, Umana, and the state APC chairman, Dr. Amadu Atai, led protesters to the INEC office in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. The APC in Akwa Ibom State is asking INEC to cancel Saturday's polls in the state. According to the APC chairman, after a review of the field reports on the elections across the state, the elections should be cancelled because they were not conducted in line with the guidelines issued by the Independent National Electoral Commission for the conduct of the elections. The party is asking for a fresh poll to be conducted and for the redeployment of resident electoral commissioners Austin Okoje from the state. The protesters were received by the INEC resident electoral commissioner, who promised to look into their complaints. I'm afraid there are more protests, and this time from Oyo State, and they've greeted the announcement of the National Assembly results in Oyo and Osun states, southwest Nigeria. Supporters of the PDP and the Accord Party in Oyo claim the result was marred with irregularities in favor of the All Progressives Congress candidate. This was also replicated in Osun State, where INEC announced Babajide Omowurare of the APC as winner of the Osun East senatorial election.
These protesters from different parts of Oyo State claim the final result announced by INEC has been manipulated. The protest doesn't end on the street. Leading candidates of the Accord Party and the PDP expressed their displeasure at separate interviews.
There was no election in Abia State. either it was already pre-designed to fail or pre-designed to favor APC. Our people were chased out of the coalition centers.
After the event, you begin to hear news, piece things together, and you know it wasn't free and fair. It was predetermined. But the question is, the extra cards or the cards that were not collected, what happened to them?
The situation isn't totally different in Osun, a neighboring state with Oyo. Supporters of the People's Democratic Party thronged the streets of Ilesha town. The protest is the fallout of the inconclusive collation of total votes cast in Osun East Senatorial District, which the PDP and the APC party agents had laid claim to winning. This led to the intervention of the resident electoral commissioner, Dr. Adekunle Ogumola.
Some of the sheets were tampered with, and that is what we want to correct.
And true to his words, the party agents are back to the collation center in Ilesha Grammar School amidst tight security. The returning officer did not waste time in announcing the result of the Osun East Senatorial District.
Babajide Christopher Omoworare of All People's Congress, having satisfied the requirements of the law, has scored the highest number of votes, which is 101,352, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
With the final announcement of the result, officials of INEC, journalists and other party agents are escorted out of the collation center by security operatives.
The Ogun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has rejected the results of the National Assembly elections in Ogun East area of the state. Speaking at a briefing in Abeokuta, the state capital, the Deputy Director of the APC Governorship Campaign Organization, Mr. Bisi Adegui, alleged that the process was marred by irregularities.
APC hereby categorically states that last Saturday election in the Ogun Senatorial District was marred by gross irregularities, inducements, and intimidation of voters, manipulation and falsification of the results. The results were announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, do not reflect the wishes of our people in Ogun Senatorial District. We therefore reject the results of the National Assembly elections, particularly the one for the senatorial seat and the two federal constituencies, Remo Federal Constituency and Ijebu North, Ijebu East, Ogun, Waterside Constituency, Federal Constituency that is.
Well, it's a case of failed promises by politicians being told in some parts of the nation's capital. The residents observe that over the years, politicians promised to cure the ills of the society, including corruption, infrastructure deficits, insecurity and education, but they have failed to fulfill them. Our correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
This is Durumi, one of the several communities you find here in the FCT. If you look back right now, the picture is not entirely encouraging. Many of the residents here look back with despondency at the famous broken promises made by politicians. No one can really forget the enthusiasm with which the politicians canvass for votes. And right now what is clear is that they want to reverse this trend. The absence of basic social amenities such as water and good roads in most communities in the nation's capital has continued to be of huge concern. In many ways, residents in these areas try to manage without these basic needs. When it's time for elections, they say politicians come to make promises. Sometimes the size of the elected office seems almost correlated with the size of the promise.
Once they come, vote for us, we are going to do this for you, we are going to do this for you. After voting, everything will turn upside down. We are suffering for light, road and water. So with this, all what we need, they should do for us.
30-year-old Iliasu Adamo narrates that in Jahi, where he lives, the situation has been bad.
Before, we don't have primary school before, but it's only that time they now come and do this primary school for us. Since that time, they have not anything that they have done again.
Some of the women who almost lost their lives during childbirth notes that the politicians can correct these lapses.
I called them in my palace and talked to them. so that we should try as much as possible to vote for their choice. And we normally do that. At the end, some of them, when they be in that position, they cannot be able to remember us.
As much as politicians expect to win the support of the people, residents of poor communities like this one urged the government not to renege on its promises to reduce the suffering of the people. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.